of Uganda,
honorable members
Your
of the Parliament
Excellencies,
of
members
Uganda,
of the Diplomatic Corps,
Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, representative of the United Nations agencies, distinguished development partners, and distinguished guests from your respective capacities or
It is a
protocol
great
observed.
honor to stand before you today.
It is a great honor to stand before you today representing Team Europe and the Gender Development Partners
We are
group
today
in
gathered
Uganda.
to commemorate
We are today
International
gathered
Women's Day
to commemorate
2026
International
and to
Women's Day
celebrate
2026
leadership
and to celebrate
and
the
resilience
achievements,
of women
leadership,
and girls
and
across
resilience
Uganda.
of women and girls
I wish to
across
express
Uganda.
sincere appreciation to the
I wish
government
to express
of Uganda
sincere
for
appreciation to
convening
the
this
government of
important
Uganda
national
for
celebration
convening this
under the
important
theme
national
Scaling
celebration
up
under the
investment
theme
to accelerate
Scaling up
access to
investment
justice
to
for all
accelerate
women and
access
girls
to
in
justice
Uganda.
for all women and
This
girls in
thematic
Uganda.
this year speaks
This
directly
thematic
to one
this
of the
year
fundamental
speaks
pillars
directly
of
to one
inclusive
of the fundamental
sustainable
pillars of
societies.
inclusive and
without
sustainable
justice
societies.
systems that truly
Without
serve anyone.
justice systems that
Access
truly
to
serve
justice
anyone.
is not only
Access
a
to
legal
justice
principle.
is not only a legal principle. It is a practical reality that we have to work on. It determines whether women and girls can live free from violence, effectively claim for their rights, and participate fully and equally in the social, economic, and political life of their country. International Women's Day is also a moment of collective reflection and renewed commitment, a commitment to ensure that rights and equality are not theory, but reality. European partners and France, as part of them, are proud to stand alongside Uganda and its institutions and renewed commitment girls as a cornerstone of sustainable development. Together, we pursue a strong feminist diplomacy, placing gender equality at the core of the cooperation policy and whole program. Feminist diplomacy is not about ideology. It's about rights. It's about evidence. And most of us, it's about impact. It's a tremendous accelerator to reach the sustainable development goals. Poverty reduction, livelihoods improvements, education, health, justice, economic growth, social inclusion, resilience to climate change, and peace building. Distinguished guests, today let us reaffirm the shared conviction: access to justice is not a privilege. It is a fundamental right that must be accessible, affordable, and responsive from the north to the south, from the east to the west, in urban areas like in rural communities of Uganda, in other countries, and in all the countries in the globe. When women and girls access justice, education, health services, and economic opportunities, as it was said before, entire societies thrive. As Gender Development Partners Group, we commend Uganda's continued efforts to strengthen the legal and policy framework for gender equality and the protection of women and girls. We commend the government of Uganda for its commitments to advancing gender equality. We commend the work of institutions across the justice, law, and order sector that continue to expand services and improve responsiveness. At the same time, we must recognize significant challenges remain. According to the Ugandan Police Force Annual Crime Report, in 2024, over 218,000 crimes were reported, including more than 14,000 cases of domestic violence and over 14,000 sexual offenses. And we do know that it is just a little part of the reality. Furthermore, nearly 1 of 2 women in Uganda have experienced physical violence from the age of 15. This is not good. Women and girls continue to disproportionately bear the burden of violence, remaining the major victims across reported cases. This context reminds us that access to justice goes beyond legislation. It requires effective institutions, accessible services, and meaningful support to survivors. While progress has been made in investigation and prosecution, these figures highlight the relevance for sustained investment in justice system, legal aid, and survival support mechanism. Scaling up investment in justice system is therefore essential by strengthening public institutions, building confidence, and fortifying inclusive development. Because behind each statistic is a woman and a girl, a member of our family, a member of our communities, a member of our countries, whose rights must be protected and whose voice must be heard. Particular attention is needed to those most at risk of exclusion from justice, including vulnerable rural women, adolescent girls, and women with disabilities. Uganda's continued generosity in hosting one of the largest refugee populations in Africa exemplifies national solidarity. Many refugees, women and girls have been displaced. They are among the most vulnerable to gender-based violence. Ensuring refugees access to justice and protection services is therefore essential, part of the building of an inclusive system that leaves no one behind. The Gender Development Partners Group in Uganda, including Team Europe, UN Women, UNFPA, remains strongly committed in working hand-to-hand with public institutions. We hold support programs that strengthen prevention and response to gender-based violence, and initiatives that promote women's economic empowerment, recognizing that economic independence is often essential for women to seek justice and exercise their rights. But transforming social norms is also essential to achieving gender equality. I'm glad, as the French ambassador to Uganda, to be part of the Women Ugandan 2025 Plus movement. This is a movement that was set up by my colleague, the director, the country representative for UN Women, and my colleague, the ambassador to Netherlands. Together, human heads of diplomatic missions, UN partners, and male change makers from various sectors, including the government of Uganda, we do reaffirm that gender equality is a concrete driver of development in Uganda. This initiative seeks to advance, together with our +1 male changemaker, which I proudly salute today in the assistance. We do believe that women's economic empowerment, reproductive health, women's leadership, intensify efforts to prevent and respond to gender-based violence. Because men must be part of the movement, not as bystanders, but as allies, because gender equality is a shared responsibility. So Women Uganda 2025 Plus movement aims at translate commitments into measurable results. Your Excellency, Madam the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, ladies and gentlemen in your respective capacity, while progress on gender equality has been remarkable in many parts of the world, we cannot ignore that this progress is uneven. Globally, women remain underrepresented in decision-making spaces. At the same time, we are witnessing a growing backlash against gender equality and women's rights. These dynamics remind us that progress is never irreversible, and that strong rule of law and committed partnerships are essential to safeguard and advance the rights of women and girls everywhere. Advancing justice for all women and girls requires collective effort, continued leadership from governance institutions, sustained investment from development partners, engagement of civil society, and last but not least, active participation of local communities, including men and boys, because gender is a systematic matter. When women claim their rights, families and communities are stronger. When institutions serve all citizens fairly, trust grows. When women participate fully in economic and public life, development intensifies. And when women and girls live free from violence and discrimination, society becomes more peaceful and resilient. We call all stakeholders, governments, development partners, civil societies, communities, and the private sector to invest boldly in justice institutions and services that are accessible to all women and girls. Threaten legal aid and community-based justice initiatives so that no female survivors are left behind. Thirdly, promote women's leadership and economic empowerment as a robust pathway to stronger participation in justice and governance processes. We also command to encourage a society where the rule of law, accountability, and respect for women, and more broadly human rights, are experienced in every community. And finally, to engage men and boys as partners, as actors in the fight against gender-based violence and discrimination. On behalf of the international community, we strongly reaffirm our continued commitment to advancing justice, promoting gender equality, creating economic opportunities, and sustain health services for all women and girls in Uganda. Let this International Women's Day 2026 serve as a renewed call to action to turn policy, investment, and commitment into tangible and measurable change. Together, let us encourage a future in which every woman and every girl can live in dignity, exercise her rights, and realize her full potential for Uganda. Happy 2026 International Women's Day for all women, girls, and I would say men and boys living in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Madam Vice President, today we celebrate the leadership, resilience, and transformative contribution of the women and girls of Uganda. This is a moment to reaffirm that gender equality is much more than an aspiration. It is a legal obligation and a prerequisite for sustainable development and lasting peace and development. This year's global theme, Rights, Justice, Action for all women and girls, is a clear call to move from commitments to concrete results, to ensure that justice is real, accessible, and effective in the daily lives of women and girls. Uganda's national theme, Scaling Up Investment to Accelerate Access to Justice for All Women and Girls in Uganda, speaks directly to this global call. It reflects a clear national understanding that justice is the foundation upon which equality, peace, and sustainable development are built. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, access to justice. A woman can report violence without fear of retaliation. It means that a girl has the right to inherit property without discrimination, that a woman can have access to and control land, financing, extension services, and technology. It means that a woman living in a rural district, a refugee settlement, or an informal urban community can claim her rights without facing stigma, cost barriers, or procedural obstacles. It also requires fair law, responsive institutions, and systems that people can trust. It means ensuring that women participate fully and equally in leadership, especially in political and justice sector decision-making. And it means standing firm on zero tolerance for abuse, corruption, and impunity, including preventing sexual exploitation and abuse while ensuring strong accountability and protecting the dignity and rights of women and girls at all times. Justice must be available, accessible, affordable, and responsive to the realities of those who are most at risk of being left behind: rural women, women with disabilities, adolescent girls, older women, women in hard-to-reach areas, women in situations of displacement, women facing economic deprivation, and those facing intersecting forms of discrimination. For women and girls with disabilities, this includes protection from heightened risks of gender-based violence, accessible reporting mechanisms, reasonable accommodation in legal proceedings, and, above all, equal recognition before the law. Access to justice is therefore not only a legal matter, but also a development imperative, a human rights obligation, and a cornerstone of peace and stability. Uganda has demonstrated commendable leadership in aligning national priorities with the 2030 Agenda, particularly in advancing Sustainable Development Goal 5 on gender equality and Sustainable Development Goal 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions. These commitments are affirmed in national frameworks, such as the 4th National Development Plan, the Parish Development Model, and constitutional provisions on gender equality. Uganda has also made commendable strides in protecting women's participation in governance through affirmative action policies, reserved seats in parliament and local government, and increased representation of women in public institutions. We particularly commend the judiciary and justice institutions where women now constitute nearly half of the judicial workforce. Their work embodies the commitment to leave no one behind, ensuring that every individual can claim their rights and be heard. While important progress has been made, sustained investment and targeted action remain essential. Priority areas include strengthening gender sensitivity across the justice chain, particularly among the police, prosecutors, and judicial officers. Expanding access to legal aid, with the long-debated legal aid law offering an important opportunity to institutionalize and scale service provision and enhancing alternative dispute resolution services in rural and refugee hosting districts. Continued efforts are also needed to address case backlogs through digital and mobile justice innovations, while ensuring internet connectivity to ease youth. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations, together with the government of Uganda and partners such as Austria, the Netherlands, and the European Union, have registered results in advancing Uganda's justice and gender equality agenda through practical programs and strong partnerships. Among the results of these commitments are the following. The special gender-based violence sessions have reduced case backlog, disposing of 4,500 sexual and gender-based violence cases, and increased the conviction rates from 20% to 80%. I repeat, from 20% to 80%. Access to justice has expanded geographically through the creation of 40 high court circuits and the revival of local council courts to complement the formal justice system. In addition, catalytic investments have been made in advancing digital justice innovations, legal empowerment, and capacity building for judges, prosecutors, court clerks, police, and probation officers. The Spotlight Initiative, jointly implemented by the United Nations and supported by the European Union and the Netherlands under the auspices of the Ministry of Gender, continues to address violence against women and girls through supporting legal reform, institutional strengthening, and community transformation. Despite our collective efforts, however, too many women and girls still face systematic barriers throughout the justice journey, from reporting violations to securing enforcement of judgments. Harmful social norms, fear of stigma and retaliation, and unfair working conditions and limited legal awareness among communities continue to limit access to justice for many, especially in rural areas and refugee settlements. That is why, as the United Nations, we are proud today to join the government of Uganda in launching the Female Genital Mutilation Strategy, with the shared ambition of making Uganda the first country to reduce FGM cases to zero by 2030. And the National Action Plan on Gender-Based Violence, which stands as a powerful demonstration of what collective action can achieve when governments, development partners, civil society, and among communities come together with a shared purpose. We must be mindful that justice also begins long before a case reaches a courtroom. True justice begins in our homes, our schools, our workplaces, and our communities. It begins in schools where girls are taught to know their rights, and when boys are raised to respect gender equality. It starts in community equality. It starts in communities where leaders speak against speak out against violence and exclusion. In a nation where young people form the majority, investing in girls' legal literacy, education, economic and job opportunities is one of the most powerful investments that you can make. Uganda can also take this forward as part of its national development strategy. The United Nations country team in Uganda remains steadfast in our commitment to work alongside the government and the people of Uganda. Together with civil society and cultural and religious leaders, development partners, we will continue to support gender-responsive legal reforms, strengthen gender-based violence survivor-centered services, promote women's leadership in peace and governance, and ensure women's rights at work, and advance an inclusive justice system that truly leaves no one behind. On this International Women's Day, let us therefore commit to building together a Uganda where justice is not a privilege, but a guaranteed right for every woman and girl, without discrimination, without delay, and without exception. Happy International Women's Day to all the women and girls of Uganda. I thank you very much for your kind attention. And I thank my colleagues who are up here and the minister who's overseeing that we finish our speeches as quickly as possible. I thank them for their patience and resilience. Thank you. Shows leadership. Thank you very much, Madam Minister.
Thank you very much, Country Coordinator UN. We have had a good, long deliberation, and they have recognized the support the Uganda government has given towards women empowerment. We thank you so much. And as you return, I would wish to invite the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development to come and make her statement. You can walk majestically, you may wish to dance, you may wish to give her a tune. Please give her a very nice tune. Our own minister has been there, and that is known for her. Please stand up and dance with her as she walks here. I know she knows how to do it in a natural way. And as she comes, I'd wish to recognize the presence of the former Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Kavuma Stephen. Thank you so much for gracing this important occasion. I would also wish to recognize the presence of the Mufti of Uganda, His Eminence Movaje is around in person. Thank you so much for coming here. His Eminence Metropolitan Generous Muzei, thank you so much for coming. Dr. Moses Odong, General Overseer, Archbishop of National Fellowship, Born Again Pentecostal Churches, thank you for coming. Honorable Betty Amongi is dancing majestically. Please give her a big hand of applause. She has led us very well. In this space, she has been there for us. Thank you so much as we dance along.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, the Lordship, the Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Amama Babazi, and the former Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, the Ambassadors and High Commissioners, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Chairperson of the National Women Council and the National Women Council Chairpersons from the districts and the cities of Uganda, religious and cultural leaders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. When I was seated, there was someone seriously reminding the Vice President that if she is not recognized, she might make life very difficult for the vice president when the vice president is speaking. So can I recognize Acham Teddy, the elder, the friend to His Excellency the President, and the great mobilizers. You can stand there and wave. You can stand there and wave to the people, and you can go back. You stand and wave. I think people know Acham, especially those who come from Teso. If the president is somewhere and you don't find her, it might be, thank you, Acham. Okay. Your Excellency, the Vice President, it is my honor to welcome you in a special way as our chief guest today at the International Women's Day, as our Vice President and an able Vice President at that, who has chaired and steered cabinet for all these 5 years we have been with you. Thank you for coming. Excellencies, International Women's Day is celebrated to remember the struggle that women and men throughout the world worked hard, struggled to achieve women's empowerment. It is a day that we celebrate the gains that we have made and reflect on the agenda that still remains to be done. We celebrate the struggle, the courage of all the women who are determined, the ordinary rural women who have worked tirelessly to feed their families, to educate their children, to anchor Uganda as a society, because without the family, Uganda does not have a foundation. And without the women, there is no family. So celebrate your day with the vibe, because you are the foundation of this country. This is a day we also call on action that needs to be done to accelerate progress for gender equality. In a special way, Your Excellency the Vice President, on Friday, we had a very successful women convention that brought women from all the districts. The women chairperson of all the districts and cities were in this meeting. We had civil society, we had development partners. Again, yesterday, we had the Women Council meeting, and the chairperson has communicated most of the resolution. But Your Excellency, these two meetings had a resounding resolution that the women request you to pass to His Excellency the President, that the women of Uganda congratulate His Excellency the President for the win in the presidential election, and again, yesterday, to be the chairperson of the East African Community Summit chairperson, a well-deserved position, because His Excellency the President is always talking about East African integration and African integration. We request you to pass the congratulations of the women of Uganda. Your Excellency, the women's agenda in Uganda has traveled a remarkable journey from grassroots activism, where the first Women's Day was celebrated in 1984 in State House, just in State House. But today we celebrate it as a day that we have had a long journey of over 40 years, and we have achieved much that requires us to celebrate today. That journey has not been a journey that many of us have earned on a silver plate. The women has earned with struggle, with caucusing, with engagement. And therefore, at the heart of this has been education for the girl child. I think majority of us seated here today, if not for education, we will not be where we are. So at the center of that is education and economic empowerment for women, which we have achieved much. Your Excellency, the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development focuses on key programs that has delivered women and girls to achieve freedom and self-empowerment. We are coordinating efforts with the ministries, development partners, civil society organizations, and the private sector to achieve the goal of women's empowerment. We are dedicated to promoting programs that eliminate poverty, empower women economically, and ensure that women's standards of living are improved, because we believe that economically independent women can challenge discrimination and protect themselves and their children from injustices. Your Excellency, some of the key programs that the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development has driven and achieved includes Uganda Women's Entrepreneurship Program. When you were at the exhibition, you saw the number of women exhibiting because of the money supported through the government program called OWEP. We have the YLP, the Youth Livelihood Program, where the young women have also benefited. We have the program called Youth Venture Capital Fund. We have a program which is also called Juakali, which supports women and youth with capital to start their businesses. And I want to request the women who have benefited from GROW. They are here because a lot of times people are saying that GROW is not so much known, but can we have the women who have benefited from GROW to stand up? The GROW women, they are here. The GROW loan, unfortunately, is only for women who have businesses and want to grow. Thank you. We also brought to Cabinet the program of ensuring that the PDM was engendered by reserving 30% of the PDM money for women. And indeed, Cabinet agreed and integrated the quota of 30% of all the money under PDM to be reserved for women. The statistics, Your Excellency, that we are now having is that PDM women have benefited now more than men. At 51.7% of the beneficiaries are women. So we want to congratulate His Excellency the President for the PDM, and all of us under the leadership of Right Honorable Prime Minister. She has been ensuring that we monitor PDM and ensure that all the money is being utilized correctly. Today's theme, scaling investments. Scaling investments to accelerate justice for all women and girls is very, very vital for all the women seated here, irrespective of your education. Because I know most of the women, one way or another, has faced gender-based violence, whether physically or psychologically, more than the men. Therefore, we celebrate some of the achievements that have been encountered in justice sector, the establishment of specialized courts for gender-based violence cases, introduction of community-based paralegals, which has improved access to justice, legal aid services that has been expanded up to the rural area. Many people are accessing justice through our partners like FIDA, training of justice law and other sector actors, where handling of gender-based violence cases has been enhanced. Political participation of women that has enabled Parliament to enact laws that are supported and enhance women's economic and social justice. Some of these laws are very important, and I want to highlight, we have been at the center of some of these. The Equal Opportunities Act of 2010. This act gives effect to the state's constitutional mandate to eliminate discrimination and inequalities against any individual or group of persons on the ground of sex, age, race, color, ethnic origin, tribe, birth, creed, or religion. The Equal Opportunities Commission has enabled women to achieve their rights. Persons with Disability Act, the Children's Act as amended, and the Older Persons Act, all this act protects the rights of persons with disability, children, and older persons. The Public Finance Management Act of 2015 places gender and equity at the heart of Uganda's microeconomic policy by acquiring and ensuring that all ministries, departments, and agencies and local governments integrate in their plans and budgets priorities of women. And when you do this, your budget cannot pass in Parliament. And with this, the Equal Opportunities Commission and Ministry of Finance issue what we call the Gender and Equity Certificate, which provides accountability mechanism that ensures public resources are allocated fairly and inclusively, therefore enhancing economic justice for women. The Employment Act of 2006 and the regulations requires that all employers with more than 25 employees put measures in place to prevent workplace violence, ensuring fair work environments and giving workers legal ground to seek redress, and ensuring that in offices they display gender and sexual related violence policy for anybody to read. So this has also enhanced and accelerated justice in areas of employment. The Land Act, as amended, safeguards the rights of women, children, and persons with disability in relation to customary land while restricting transfer of land without spousal consent. So these days, a man cannot go to a bank and borrow money without, if it's matrimonial land or property, without the consent of a woman. These provisions protect women from dispossession, uphold their property rights, and provide legal mechanism to challenge unfair practices, accelerating access to justice in land ownership and inheritance. The Succession Amendment Act of 2022, one of the most important legislation that we can cite for justice. This has advanced access to justice by aligning succession law with constitutional provisions on gender equality, by ensuring fair distribution of property to both male and female dependents. So if you now have children and you die, this law will say all your children, the property will be divided equally. It also recognizes spouses in the distribution of property of the deceased. It also refined the definition of customary heir or heiress to remove discrimination. In the old law, it was only the heir. Now, in this amendment of 2022, it is heir or heiress. So, if somebody dies, you can now leave even your daughter as your heiress. It used not to be. This is very important. The Act strengthens women's ownership rights and security of tenure, protect women and girls from dispossession and gender-based violence, while giving very clear legal grounds to claim inheritance and property rights. In doing that, this is one of the law that has dismantled long-standing barriers in succession matters, and accelerated access to justice for women and girls across Uganda. Other laws like Domestic Violence Act, Female Genital Mutilations Act, Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, all these laws enable women to enjoy their rights and removes the social norms, for example, of making traditional practices like female genital mutilation to be recognized, and now it is outlawed. Institutionally, Your Excellency, the government has established special units that have reinforced justice, law and order, ministries and agencies on access to justice for women and children. These include Gender and Children Desk within Uganda Police Force, Gender, Children and Sexual Offences Department at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, Gender Focal Judge at the Judiciary, and the Family and Children Courts that use gender-sensitive and child-friendly procedure in adjudication of cases. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development is working with partners and institutions to ensure better coordination in handling cases affecting women and girls. The ministry has strengthened also collaboration with partners, and I want to thank our partners who just spoke here, the European Union, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Austria, and other non-state actors. We are delivering gender equality and empowerment of women and girls with the support of UN Joint Program on Prevention and Response of GBV. The government has handled special court sessions in most parts of the country for offenses of murder, aggravated defilement, rape, trafficking in children and persons with disability, with a view of fast-tracking and hearing gender-based cases in a way that does not cause backlog. The special court session has contributed to reducing case backlog and great improvement in conviction rate, especially capital offenses such as aggravated defilement, murder, GBV, rape, and so on. The Ministry of Gender has successfully implemented programs for reduction of gender-based violence. We have a program with partners called the Spotlight Initiative, the Gender for Development in Uganda program, and GOU-UNFPA program to end gender-based violence, which has been instrumental in advancing efforts to combat gender-based violence in 51 districts across the country. The ministry and partners have addressed harmful social norms, provided quality services to gender-based violence survivors, safety and protection measures, improved gender-based violence data collection, supported child mothers' second chance education, and here I want to thank the First Lady, who is our chairperson for the Second Chance Education Initiative and post-COVID program for ensuring that those who got pregnant can go back to school. The policy has been implemented, and many girls, some of them have sat exam even when they are pregnant. Some of them, even when they give birth in the middle of examination, they are allowed to go back and sit exam. I think this is a very, very progressive policy. In the judiciary, Your Excellency, the Vice President, we would like you to thank and send our appreciation to His Excellency, the President, for the good track record of appointing women in key position of leadership, not only in politics, in cabinet, and in permanent secretary job, where in cabinet we are at 44, in permanent secretary I think we are now 48 permanent secretaries, but in the judiciary, women constitute 51% of judicial officers in Uganda. I think this deserves a big hand clap, and I want to thank the incoming Chief Justice that today we celebrate one of the most progressive lady. We have been with her. She has been presenting every year when we go to New York, and she has been talking about sexual and gender-based violence cases. She has been a DPP, But today we celebrate Lady Justice Jane Francis Abodo, who has been appointed as the principal judge responsible for supervising all the High Court and Magistrates Court in Uganda. We congratulate you, our sister, and we know you are going to make us proud. Your Excellency, we still have few challenges which today requires us to recommit our energy, to recommit ourselves to addressing. There is high case dismissal of gender-based violence due to several factors, including delayed trials, poor forensic evidence preservation, no witness protection. You know, for women, sexual offenses, people fear to testify in open court. I'm glad that now the witness protection is being piloted. There's delayed prosecution. Many witnesses fail to come to court to be a witness to sexual or defilement cases. Most of defilement cases end up going back to be solved at home in a traditional way, and most of them will say, you married the girl since you have already impregnated her. Those are challenges that are still prevailing, and some of these requires us to do much more. Case management is also undermined by wide capacity gaps within the judiciary and other justice chain institutions like Office of the Director of Prosecution, Uganda Police, the Criminal Investigation Directorate. These institutions are understaffed. They don't have enough financial budget. In most cases, when you have a case, you go to police, police might not even have fuel to go and start investigation. So we require that we need to ensure staffing and also financing so that women who cannot afford will have quick and efficient response to all the cases. There are still laws and practices in Uganda that discriminate against women. The marriage and divorce issue, ownership, land and property, we need to hike and make sure that the laws are implemented. Negative social norms which conflict with the laws. Practices like child marriages. I always see Honorable Peace struggling to run around because somebody has called and said they have just married, or they are forcing a girl to get married and she's 14. And these cases are very, very common, especially in Western Uganda, particularly in Ankole, because the girls, they drink milk, they look very healthy, and somebody who is 13, 14 is being forced to get married. So these cultural, customary norms are still persisting, which requires work. Female genital mutilation, although there is law, there are still people who strongly believe that if you don't undergo that initiation, you are not a woman. So even for educated women, they will fear to talk about it because of the culture. So some of this contradicts statutory law and makes the law be subservient to the actual practice. Inheritance and issues around ensuring that court process, the time frames of processing court issues, the language. Sometimes these women, they don't know the official language in court. So issues of language, issues of sign language still limits access to justice for marginalized groups and uneducated groups, and economic barriers undermines women's access to many issues around justice. Your Excellency, I want to conclude by saying government of Uganda has made a lot of progress. We have pending laws that we need to push as women of Uganda: the Sexual Offences Bill, the Marriage Bill, the Witness Protection Bill, and the Legal Aid Bill, which is still pending, but at various stages needs to be fast-tracked. The justice sector needs to take deliberate efforts to clear case backlog on defilement and aggravated defilement and gender-based violence, and the judiciary will have to work hand in hand to simplify the processes of the court, to make it more friendly to the women and make the victims have support for witness protection, and all the other reforms that are within the judiciary. We will work hand in hand with the judiciary to ensure that we make these reforms so that access to justice is achieved for all women and girls. With that, Your Excellency, I want to conclude by saying the women of Uganda stand firmly in support of the vision of His Excellency the President, and yourself, the strategic plan for development, and that through investment in key economic sector and essential services, justice for women will be delivered. We thank His Excellency the President for the political will that has created opportunities for women and girls to enjoy their rights. And with that, I want to thank you for your continued commitment and grace and hard work that has made Ugandans know that when you put a woman in a position, the woman performs. Your Excellency, you have performed as a Vice President. When you go out there to represent His Excellency the President abroad, we see you, how graceful you are. You have made women proud. I thank you, and with that, I want now to take the singular honor to invite you, Your Excellency, to deliver your speech and address the nation. Thank you for God and my country.
Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Uganda, the Right Honorable Third Deputy Prime Minister, all members of Cabinet present, Your Lordship, the Principal Judge, Excellencies, the Ambassadors, High Commissioners, members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues, members of Parliament present, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, the former national leaders, notably the Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi, His Lordship Stephen Kavuma, General Kale Kaihura, the Head of Service, Madam Lucy Nachobe, and all senior government officials, the Deputy CDF, and all the security chiefs from the UPDF, the police, and the prisons, the chairperson of the National Women Council, and all the leaders of National Women Council at all levels, the UN Resident Coordinator and all your team, all NRM leaders in your respective ranks, members of the media, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I congratulate all the women of Uganda, and indeed all the people of Uganda, on this special day when we are yet again commemorating the International Women's Day. Let us clap for ourselves and let us celebrate our day with confidence, because we have the peace, and the tranquility. I thank the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development upon the successful organization of today's commemoration, and I sincerely thank you for the warm welcome you accorded me this morning when I arrived here. I bring you warm greetings from His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, and Mama Janet Kataha Museveni, the Minister of Education and Sports. They all wish us very well in this celebration. They may not be with us physically, but they are with us in spirit, and they asked me to convey their warm regards to all of you, and indeed to all the people of Uganda. Let me also join the leaders that I have requested and thanked the people of Uganda for the overwhelming victory and support which you extended to His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and the NRM in the just recently concluded national elections. We thank you very much as elected leaders for exercising your mandate and electing all the leaders at all levels to serve you. We are sincerely very thankful to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may have already learned through the media and other government communication channels, His Excellency the President is in Arusha, Tanzania, where he was elected the chair of the East African Community. Join me in congratulating His Excellency the President upon assuming the chairship of the East African Community. Against that background, therefore, he delegated me to come here to deliver to you his message, and indeed to all the people of Uganda. And before I deliver to you his message, let me also assure all of you, including Hajat Farida, the Chairperson Women Council, the UN Resident Commissioner and your team, the Minister of Gender, that all the messages you have expressed here, which are directly meant to be conveyed to His Excellency the President, will be integrated into a report and will be relayed to the highest destination, and that is to His Excellency the President's office. I shall promise you that as a woman, we shall pursue for the feedback together up to the logical conclusion. I thank the parade commander and her team for putting up such a spectacular march past parade. Thank you very much for entertaining us, including the members of the band. Let me now read to you the message of His Excellency the President. I thank the exhibitors when I was going through the stalls, and they are demonstrating that a lot of progress is being made in wealth and job creation through government programs. The message of His Excellency the President goes as follows. Fellow countrymen, countrywomen, and especially the Bazukulu, the International Women's Day is an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the significant role played by women and girls in our families, local communities, and the country at large. I therefore want to thank you all for using this occasion to highlight the contribution of women and girls in all the spheres of life. This year's celebration is being held under the theme, Scaling Up Investment to Accelerate Access to Justice for All Women and Girls in Uganda. The real key to development lies in cultivating the inherent potential of all people, both men and women. In 1986, when the NRM came to power, we were able to observe that although women formed more than 50% of the total population of 14 million Ugandans, their full potential was not fully realized on account of their lack of education, lack of opportunities, chronic ill health, and early death. Women were trapped in a very disadvantaged position, despite the fact that they were at the center of the subsistence economy, and also provided at least half of the labor for producing the few cash crops. The NRM fought the suppression of women and other groups that faced marginalization on account of historical and cultural factors by doing the following. First and foremost, guaranteeing education access for all at primary, secondary levels, i.e., UPE and USE. This was a fundamental empowerment of the girl child because once somebody is educated, he or she cannot easily be suppressed. That was the real beginning of our reforms. In the past, when the family had to make a choice because of limited family income as to who should go to school, it would be the girl child who stayed home, while the boy child attended school. Therefore, when we introduced free education for all, those who benefited in a special way were the girls because they are the ones who are kept at home as the resources were concentrated on the boys. It is a mother's level of education and access to information which will decide whether or not she will go for a tetanus vaccination in pregnancy, whether a trained person will be present at birth, whether she knows about the advantages of breastfeeding, whether foods will be cooked in the most appropriate way, whether water will be boiled and hands washed, whether bouts of diarrhea will be treated by administration of fluids and foods, whether a child will be weighed or vaccinated, and whether there will be an adequate interval between birth. Therefore, education and skilling of the girl child is an effective method of empowering not only women, but the entire society. Secondly, we introduced positive discrimination in favor of women to bring the women to the fore. For instance, for university entry, we have the 1.5 additional points given to girls. Women are free to stand for any elective office. but they also have additional seats which they compete for. That way, we have been able to increase their numbers in public office. And women have proved to be better leaders and managers than men. During our resistance against dictatorships, we treated everyone equally. And I found the women to be much more resolute than many men. Thirdly, in order to provide justice to women, we introduced big punishments for rape and defilement. This was aimed at protecting the women who are the victims of these crimes. And last but not least, we have also fought against inhuman cultural practices that undermine the dignity of women, such as female genital mutilation, early marriages, wife inheritance, wife beating, etc. The above measures have been buttressed by the NRM's poverty eradication programs, which are aimed at creating wealth and jobs at the household level. When the families get out of poverty through commercial farming, manufacturing, services, and ICT, it is easier to address the remaining challenges faced by women. When families become wealthy, they are able to educate all their children. Therefore, families getting out of poverty is a good base for solving many problems. The NRM government has put in place the necessary socioeconomic infrastructure to guarantee the profitability of the business enterprises, i.e., enough electricity, good roads, schools, hospitals, peace and security, etc. However, infrastructural development alone is not enough, though it must come first. Development is a collective good for everyone. But wealth and jobs belong to individuals, families, groups, or companies. We should not have spectators in the drive towards increasing household incomes. Finally, I wish you all happy celebrations of International Women's Day 2026. I thank you all. That is a message of His Excellency the President. Thank you for your kind attention.
Pregnant message from the President. Your Excellency the Vice President, I would kindly request you to allow to launch 3 very important strategic programs: the second National Action Plan on Elimination of Gender-Based Violence 2026-31, to launch the Uganda Gender and Equality Climate Action Strategy 2026-31, and launch the National Strategy on Ending Female Genital Mutilation 2026-31. These important documents are here with us, and we beg you kindly to launch them today as we celebrate this International Women's Day. Along with the launch of the Vice President, I'd request the Country Director, UNFPA, Action Plan, BRAC, and the Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, and the Permanent Secretary to be around to witness this launch. FAO should also be there to represent the launch of the Gender Equality Strategy for Climate Action, and Minister of Water, Environment, plus Minister of Gender, and the Prime Minister. We request that you all stand on that line as we launch these very important actionable strategies. We shall begin with the launch of the second National Action Plan on elimination of gender-based violence. The representative from IPA should also be preparing himself when we go to launch the end of female genital mutilation action plan. Your Excellency, these documents are ready. Your Excellency, we request you to kindly launch the second National Action Plan on elimination of gender-based violence, 2026-2031. The signature is being apprehended. Ladies, please put your hands together and thank the Vice President for launching this very important National Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence in Uganda. Thank you very much. The Vice President has already apprehended her signature. I can see the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development apprehend her signature. I can also see the country representative UNFPA doing that. I have now seen our own Majegere signing to launch the National Action Plan to end gender-based violence. May I now request that you present Uganda Gender and Equal Climate Strategy Action Plan for signing. I can see the Vice President has apprehended her signature on the Gender Equal Climate Action Strategy. Please thank her for that. FAO, please apprehend your signature. Our own Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Robin Anabanja Majegere, has also apprehended her signature. The Permanent Secretary, Minister of Water and Environment, please apprehend your signature as well. We now wish to present the National Strategy on Ending Female Genital Mutilation 2026-2031 for your signature or launch. Your Excellency, thank you so much for apprehending your signature on the National Strategy on Ending Female Genital Mutilation 2026-2031. I would also request FAO representative, our own Prime Minister is also apprehending the signature. FAO, please sign on that launch. Now, UNFPA will all join you in signing on the launch of those very three important strategies, all geared towards ending violence against women and girls. And they are present here to take a picture, a memorable picture for the launch of these very important strategies. Congratulations, our development partners, for putting heads together to come up with that action plan. And I also want to thank the responsible ministries for accepting and putting them into the National Action Plan, in the fourth National Action Plan. We thank you so much for that. As we come towards the end of this celebration, there were entertainment groups, 2 entertainment groups. I want to request the 2 of them to come here quickly. Quickly, those 2 entertainment groups should make their way here Don't think we had forgotten about you. Please come, make your way here, and we conclude our celebrations with a dance to really indicate that we are celebrating. There is a lost and found item here. Owoya Sejire Paul, you lost your driving license. It is here, please, wherever you are, come and find your driving license. I'll give it to my sister, Alice Mwanguzi. There is an important activity that we have not done yet that we must do right now. Entertainment groups, make your way near here as we award the medals. I wish to request the Master of Medals ceremony. Please kindly come, make your way so that we award the medals to our distinguished people who have been very excellent in supporting gender equality and women's empowerment. I would request this group to stand just behind here shortly. We shall be inviting you as soon as we complete this final activity. Just down the platform there, the young ladies, just keep just down there. Wait a minute, we shall invite you. Now right here, the ceremony, the Master of Ceremonies for the awards and medals is coming here to recognize eminent persons who have supported the gender equality movement to where it is right now. May you kindly join us and take the platform.
Your Excellency the Vice President, I request proceed riding on the protocol already ably laid down by previous speakers. I am Brigadier General Richard Karemire, the Master of Ceremony of the Chancery. On this occasion, when we celebrate the International Women's Day, His Excellency the President and Fountain of Honor has pursuant to Section 18 of the National Awards Act 2001, Section 3, awarded medals of various categories to the following 34 distinguished persons. The National Independence Diamond Jubilee Medal. Recipient number 1 is Ms. Naumo Juliana Akorio from Kabang District,